Welcome to the world of Grand Theft Auto Online. A wretched world of crime and debauchery. A world of pure hedonism and murder. A world dedicated to making all the money and buying all the things. A world that incentivizes violence and where psychotic antisocial behavior thrives. A world where morality is not even an afterthought. To exist in such a world with an intact moral compass must be near impossible, right? The goal of which could only be thought up by some kind of masochistic madman. Well, that is what I have set out to discover, because I am that masochistic madman. I want to exist in this world within a strict set of morals that I've set for myself. Cause no harm. Break no laws. Murder no one. But a caveat. If my life is in immediate danger, I can break only non-violent laws in the interest of self-preservation. Things like breaking road rules and speeding or stealing an unoccupied vehicle, only to escape certain death. When I set this challenge for myself, I had no idea the kind of torture I had just submitted myself to. Come along with our subject of this experiment, affectionately named Herbert, as we strive to become a man of morals in the world of Grand Theft Auto Online. Our journey begins with our protagonist Herb arriving via aeroplane to the land of opportunity, Los Santos. After forming a beautiful, loving online relationship with Lamar through Life Invader, they are finally meeting in real life for the first time. Lamar further solidifies their loving relationship with a gift, a fully loaded semi-automatic pistol.
Gotta love that. Who your partner is, man? Who your partner is?
Lamar decides to further the relationship by immediately challenging me to a one-on-one street race. A random man then delivers a car for me to use in this race, and I don't know why, because immediately afterwards I am presented with a menu where I can select from a choice of cars. I then get the choice to choose a winning toast, in which I look through and try to find the one that I think will be the most positive on the off chance that I happen to win. I decide on the thumbs up, which I also notice puts a big smile on Herbert's face. I quickly come to realize that my speed of travel is impossible to accurately gauge within the game world, and therefore I make the decision to choose that speeding in of itself is not going to be against my moral code. That being said, I will adhere to every other road law that I possibly can, including what becomes my greatest adversary in this race, the dreaded red light. As the race begins, I realize that I have accidentally chosen an electronic vehicle for my car, which I feel like pushes my morality meter slightly more to the positive, as Herbert is now saving the environment. I eventually finished the race in a much expected second place, with an astronomically long time of almost 11.5 minutes. Lamar proceeds to give Herbert a very affectionate and loving middle finger in celebration. Immediately after the race, Lamar begins asking me about cheese.
You trying to make some cheese?
I can only assume he's mentioning cheese because he's organizing some kind of romantic date situation, maybe a picnic on a mountain with a selection of fine cheeses, maybe some crackers, some spread, fine wine, maybe a Chardonnay. Quite frankly, I phase out of everything he's telling me as I'm picturing our romantic date.
Get that cheese.
I begin making my way onto the cheese vendor when a crazed local driver runs a red light right in front of me, causing a minor accident. I decide to try to follow this local to see if we are able to exchange insurance information using the only mode of communication I currently know, frantically beeping my horn. But I lose them when they speed through a red light, which I obviously am not going to do. I then continue on to the cheese vendor, stopping at every single red light on the way. I finally arrive at the location marked on my map and make sure not to park on the red line, as that would be illegal. When I get out of the car, I realize I'm still holding that loaded pistol that Lamar gave me earlier. I decide it is within my best interest to dispose of the gun, as there's no way I'll be using it, because that would be illegal. So I throw the gun on the ground and realize that for some reason I still have a stone hatchet. I don't know how I got this stone hatchet, but for some reason I'm unable to drop it. I then decide that throwing a loaded gun on the ground in public is probably illegal, and I should try to dispose of it properly. Luckily, the local gun store is just around the corner, so I make my way there, but it turns out that I haven't proceeded enough into the story of online mode to be able to actually get inside. I decide the best thing I can do is leave the gun at the front door of the gun store and hope that a responsible person will be able to take care of it. I make my way back to the cheese vendor and decide to take my car around back where there is allocated parking. I get out and try walking up to the cheese vendor when suddenly he starts running and a group of his friends pull out guns and start shooting me. This is not ideal. I get hit multiple times and run for my life. The cheese vendor is now fleeing the area, so I run back to my car, jump in, and give chase. I don't have much available to me in the way of communication, so I start beeping frantically, hoping that the cheese vendor understands that I am simply here to buy some cheese. He doesn't seem too interested though, and he jumps in his SUV trying to drive away. I park in front of him in an attempt to block his path, and I get out of the car, but he doesn't seem too interested in talking and decides to make a run for it yet again, driving away with the sweet creamy dairy that Lamar craves. I give chase once again, but it is not too long until I'm once again stopped by my dreaded enemy, the red light. The cheese vendor appears to be heading north, so I make my way onto the highway trying to catch up. But that's far easier said than done, while also trying to not break any road laws. I make my way through the countryside as I watch him getting further and further away. I chase him through sandy shores, but still are unable to catch up. I chase him all the way to Grapeseed, and I notice I'm getting closer. But soon I'm stuck behind a very slow local car. Luckily, I notice that the cheese vendor has turned down what appears to be a dead end, so time may now be on my side. After 20 minutes of driving, I finally catch up to the cheese vendor. He's driven off-road and crashed into a tree. This may be my one and only chance of being able to keep him here. I try to stop him, but his powerful SUV is far stronger than my small electric vehicle. I decide not to let this chance go and take the drastic choice of going for a pit maneuver. It turns out far more successfully than I could have imagined. He gets trapped sideways on a bridge, and I manage to squeeze my vehicle right behind his, stopping him in his path. I get out of my car and get into his, simply to explain that I simply want to buy some cheese. But he jumps out and decides to flee on foot. Once again, I give chase. The cheese vendor makes his way back towards a small fishing cabin and tries to steal a vehicle. I prevent the robbery, which I think technically is morally the right thing to do. I move the car to try to prevent him from stealing it again, and the cheese vendor makes a run for it on foot. Once again, I give chase, off into the beautiful moonlight. He's running beside the shoreline, and I'm trying to catch up, but I'm suddenly realizing that my dress pants and fancy shoes may have been a wrong choice for trying to catch somebody on foot. To my dismay, he is getting further and further away. I decide to try running inland in an attempt to cut him off further along. Panic sets in as I realize I've divided us with a sharp cliff, and my only chance to catch up might have been taken away. But then, the unthinkable happens. The cheese vendor is killed by a rogue wave, the water smashing his lifeless body against the rocky cliffs. I then carefully and gracefully make my way down from the cliffside to the beach. I make my way over to where the cheese vendor died and collect the cheese, as well as $23 he apparently had on him and dropped when he died. I notice that for some reason I'm carrying a pistol again. I don't know where I've gotten this one from, but I don't want to be carrying this instrument of death. So I drop it into the ocean with the cheese vendor's body. I start making my way back to my car, but on the way there, I decide to put this damaged vehicle back where we originally found it. But when I try to do so, I notice that the game world has already put another copy of this car at that exact location, showing just another example of how this world does not care about the possessions of its inhabitants. It's at this moment when I truly begin to really consider the experiment I have undertaken for myself. What am I really trying to achieve by being the only moral person in a world designed for immoral people? Am I hoping to discover something about humanity and about myself by doing this? Am I trying to explore a broader concept of morality by forcing it upon a character, Herbert, who is effectively trapped in a world specifically designed as a playground of immorality and violence? Part of me thinks the only truly moral way to interact with this world at all is to not interact with it. But hey, that wouldn't be any fun now, would it? Lamar introduces me to his friend Gerald, who apparently was the person who wanted this cheese all along. I guess the date that I thought we were going to go on with Lamar was just a fantasy all along.
That's right. Don't bother counting.
I'm definitely going to count it.
Else interesting? Bring it my way.
And now you got you some bread. What you
Whoa, wait, hold up a minute. Did he just pay for cheese with bread? Does this world actually run on some kind of sandwich-based economy? So I end up getting paid a grand total of $500 for that 45 minutes of work that I just put in. After Lamar berated my fashion sense, I decide to go to the closest clothing store and buy myself some new threads. I park my car legally in the allocated parking, like a good citizen should, and head inside. This is the first opportunity I have to give Herbert some unique personality outside of what I've chosen for him within the character creation screen. But I must admit, after 9 years of GTA 5 existing, they've added an overwhelming amount of outfits and fashion options. Finally, I decide upon this sporty option, because if I've learnt anything, it's that I need to be ready to run at any moment. And then the inevitable finally happens. As if to showcase the total opposite of what my experiment is trying to achieve, someone starts spamming racist messages in the chat while repeatedly blowing up everybody in the session. This is my true opposite, a real-life embodiment of immorality. This is the yin to my yang.
Welcome, brother. Welcome.
And I think that's the best place to end for today. This is probably the most amount of effort I've put into a video on this channel, so leave a comment below and let me know what you thought about it, because I'm hoping to continue Herbert's adventures in future videos. You can also watch me live on Twitch, link below, and as always, stay safe, be good, and I'll see you next time.